Give me a minute and we'll talk about the Frontline Update for today, Tuesday, October 31st, 2023, day 615 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. And guys, you know, we talk a lot about where the fighting is fiercest, where things are the toughest. But it's worth remembering that this front line stretches 1,000 kilometers, and along every square inch of it, the men and women of the Ukrainian armed forces are fighting for their right to exist as a people, as a nation, with a language and a culture, which the other side, the hordes of Mordor there, say doesn't even exist. It's not real. They're really Russians. They just don't appreciate it. We'll make them appreciate it. That's what we're looking at here. The ancestral forces of culture, genocide, right? You prove your culture is better by wiping out all the cultures around you, is back in fashion. Thank you, Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin. And all along this 1,000-mile line, those forces of autocracy and enemies of freedom are fighting against a free people to free itself and determine its own right to a future and its own future for itself. And we should remember that. We should remember that, and we should support these people. Not dick around with defunding the IRS so that we can afford to help Israel. Are you out of your minds? All right, anyway, sorry. That was for the Americans. All right, so just a thought about the front line. Let's take a look at the areas of interest. The fighting has been ongoing and most difficult around Avdiivka. Russian artillery is systematically leveling the town, destroying it, just like they did Bakhmut. In the north, the Russians are unable to utilize the slag heap because the elevation differentials for the slag heap are only an advantage if your enemy is coming from the east. Now that the enemy has come from the east and is there, the land on the west side of the slag heap doesn't have a great elevation differential to the slag heap, so it doesn't present the tactical advantage. And everybody that goes up on the slag heap gets hit with artillery from the Ukrainians because the Ukrainians have fire control over the slag heap. And so they can't use it. Instead, it appears that they are marshaling their resources for a scaled attack against the coke plant across the railroad tracks. To date, no Russian has crossed the railroad tracks, at least not in any significant fashion. And so the railroad tracks are still a barrier. The coke plant, on the other hand, is on the other side of the tracks, and that would be an advantage for the Russians. And so it looks like they're marshaling all their resources for an attack on the coke plant. Again, that's about 700 meters south of the slag heap. Down in Severne there, on the southern axis of this front, the ISW is reporting that the Russians haven't made any progress and that the intensity of the attacks have slowed. It could well be that, like in the north, they are marshaling resources, waiting for artillery to do its job, destroy all the places to hide in, and then they're going to move forward. We come down the map to the Robotyne axis, and here you can see that bright patch of blue, a couple square kilometers, but most importantly, it's the heights. And so for the last several weeks, there has been a battle of just apparently epic proportions here, of the final elements of, I believe, the 76th VDV force against the Ukrainian armed forces. And the Russians broke today and have retreated. They are retreating back to the tree lines around Kopani. And that will give the Ukrainians tactical advantage with control of the heights. So good progress there. And then down here in the Kherson region, there's not much to report about tactical gains, or the fighting is ongoing. Ukrainians still have a foothold here. It's still not clear if they're trying to expand that foothold or be a distraction, a sabotage group. We just don't know. But the big news down here, of course, is the political news, right? Colonel General Makarovich was relieved of duty because he didn't tell the Kremlin what the situation here really was. Now, I will remind everybody that the last guy that was in charge of the troops down here did tell the Kremlin what the situation really was, and that's why he wasn't sending those boys out on those islands to die. And he was placed in a mental institution. He's currently receiving the gentle, loving care of Russian psychiatry. Anyway, so the guy that's coming in is Terplinsky, which may be bad news for the Ukrainians, because this is the guy who orchestrated the successful retreat under fire from Kherson. He's competent. By all accounts, that's a very hard thing to do. And he did it successfully. So this is a competent general. So naturally, he has recently been demoted and is going to be sacrificed on this trash fire, I guess. Oh, what a pity. Anyway, guys, that's the Frontline Update. Little by little, step by step, inch by inch, well, centimeter by centimeter. The Ukrainian people are reclaiming Ukraine.